of the 12th Parliament of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana to be duly constituted and in session. The clerk will lead us in prayers.
Almighty God, we are gathered together. We most humbly beseech thee to guide us in all our consultations, so that we may together build a land where knowledge is free, where the mind is without fear and the head is alive, and where words come from the depth of truth. Grant us, O God, the needed guidance, so that we may deal justly with the several causes that come before us, laying aside all private interests, prejudices, and personal preferences, so that the result of our counsels may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion, the preservation of justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the President, and the peace and prosperity of Guyana. Grant us, O God, the vision so to lead, that all the people of this fair land may enter into that state of abided in unity, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Messages from the President. Announcements by the Speaker.
Honorable members, we finished the first day of consideration of the estimates in Committee of Supply, ending almost 2 hours beyond the scheduled time that we had planned to. Over 1 hour and a half of that time was due to the fact that we waited for a quorum. I can't do nothing about the quorum. And I have to stay faithful to the resolution of the business subcommittee with respect to the allocation of time. What I could warn is that if we take a long time to establish the quorum, I will start deducting time from the questions. And so the chief whip for the opposition will probably say, you can't do that. And on the government side, I will say, in deference to the government, you would like to start with a quorum where the government has a majority. This is just decency, right? But I can also warn that I will start with or without once I have a quorum on the government side. So both sides of the house, you have much responsibility. As Spiderman says, you know, and let us see how we can efficiently utilize the time during the remaining days of consideration of the estimates. And remember, it's not only us here, but it's a tremendous amount of staff. And if there are 100 staff waiting and we lose 1.5 hours, Finance Minister will calculate the man hours lost due to lateness and tell us how valuable that is. Mr. Clerk?
Presentation of petitions, presentation of papers and reports, etc. Reports from committees, oral questions without notice, questions on notice, statements by ministers, including policy statements, personal explanations, requests for leave to move the adjournment of the National Assembly on definite matters of urgent public importance, motions relating to the business or sittings of the National Assembly and moved by a minister, introduction of bills, public business, government's business.
Honorable members, we will now continue with our examination of the estimates. The House will now resolve itself into Committee of Supply to continue this process. Today we start with our dear Honorable Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and the Constitutional Agency. Minister is in place, and I ask her staff to join her as she takes us through her agencies. I invite you, honorable members, to turn to pages 80 and 81. And we have 2 hours and 10 minutes for these agencies, and rolling over from Friday were 27 minutes. And we will start at 10:23, which is relatively doing well, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for propose the question that the sum stated for agency 7, program 071, National Assembly current expenditure stands part of the estimates.
Mr. Chair, good morning, Minister and team. First question that I do have, can the Honourable Minister please, oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
Honourable members,
I just lost my whole page. Just give me a
if it will help, members can sit because it's difficult to track the defined numbers in the estimates and at the same time speak with enough volume for us to hear. But if you choose, you can sit.
Thank you.
And I've noticed some members putting the seat up and sitting on it to be able to function better. Ms.
Thank
Halley?
you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House what are the core training needs of the staff that are being catered for in this year's budget?
Honourable Minister?
The honourable member refer to a head or subhead, please. Line item, appendix, if you look at page 78, Parliament Office.
Mr. Chair, I'm looking at volume 1. And maybe I'm mistaken, but it's a lump sum. And I know at the back has the costing, the breakdown. But if the minister would be able to answer that question, because we're dealing with the training of the staff.
Thank you, madam. To answer for the they refer to line items or subheads in section T in relation to the constitutional bodies. Just to help me to manage better, if you don't mind. Those are the books, they keep turning it off. I assume, madam, you're asking about education, subventions, and training under on page 669. The information is as follows. These are stipends for students, training of researchers in AI, training and report writing. The total is $1.5 million. The stipend for students is $500. Training of researchers in AI, $650,000. Sorry, $500,000. $650,000, and training in report writing, $350,000. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Member, Ms. Lawrence.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Could the Honorable Minister
Thank you.
indicate, if you go back to 669, rental and maintenance of buildings, there's a budget amount of $76 million. Could the minister indicate to us what is the cost for the rental of the ACCC to host parliament sittings?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you. The rental of official residence for 5 ministers and 1 parliamentary secretary. The monthly rate is 300,000, capped at 300,000 monthly. The rental of the ACC, where we meet here for 20 sittings, it's estimated approximately 9 million. Miscellaneous increases, repainting for the members of the Parliament Lounge, because this is rental and maintenance, right, Madam Lawrence? They're replacing the carpet in the registry department, lacquering and replacing carpets in the passageway, cleaning and polishing of tiles on the upper and lower corridors, maintenance of the roof, repainting the walls of the parliamentary library section, replacing fiberglass in the legislative windows in the legislative section, repairing and repainting stairwell and floor of the dome, miscellaneous maintenance, renovation of barrack room, etc. Those come to 22,337,000. And then you have the other areas relating to things like cleaners, refills, insecticide spray, water dispensers, garbage bags, cleaning cloths, Lysol wipes, etc., which come to 22 million. And the rental, which I gave you for the ministers' residences and Arthur Chung, comes up to 31,877,000. That brings you to the 76,214,000 total for that subhead.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could the Honorable Minister indicate what were the reasons given for us to continue to use ACCC and not the Parliament, given that we have expended quite a lot of money for the refurbishment and equipment for the Parliament? There's youth Parliament being held there and other activities. Why are we not meeting there?
I think, Madam, that I think a lot of us are quite comfortable here because there's more space. But that's not the answer. The answer is that we still have COVID around us. We're still expected to carry out certain sanitary and other preventions, and that the chambers have used the opportunity, I believe, Mr. Speaker, to do a lot of repairs in the meantime while we're not in the way. So that is my understanding. At this point, I am not aware of any change in the policy to continue here at the convention center until a future date. I am not aware when that would happen.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I know.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipur.
thank you, sir. Sir, from this sum, this total sum here of $2,070,831,000, 6041, which is an increase from last year and an increase from all previous years. May I ask, what is the increase for the office of the Leader of the Opposition?
Honorable Minister.
I'm advised that there is no change in the current budget for the Leader of the Opposition of 32,564,000. That is what it was last year. That is what it is this year. And the wages and salary for the Leader of the Opposition remains the same, except with the 10%. included NIS, gratuity, vacation allowance, fuel, electricity, janitorial, refreshment, 4 million, telephone and internet, other supplies, water, miscellaneous, coming to 32,564. However, please forgive me, I must add that there are many times I have to interact with the Leader Opposition Office, and every time we send the office assistant to deliver mail, the building is closed. And therefore, we have to send to Congress Place, all the way to Congress Place. Every time we have correspondence that has to be delivered to the Leader Opposition Office, and I do so on behalf of His Excellency the President, each time the building is locked up, there's nobody there. But rent is being paid for this building of 400,000 a month. So yes, the rate hasn't changed, and that's not a reason for the rate not changing or increasing. But I raise that to ask you that if you have an office, could it be functional? Just to make it easier for us who have to interact with the Leader Opposition. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker,
Charlie.
follow up on the same question the Honorable Mahipol asks. Could the Honorable Minister says if the Minister knows, we would like to know on the side of the House, where is the office of the Leader of the Opposition located?
To answer my colleague, the Leader Opposition Office is on Regent Street. I've forgotten the lot number, but it's in the upper part of Regent Street, about 2 blocks down from Office of the President on Regent. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Honourable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 7 Parliament Office Program 071 National Assembly current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, please turn to page 491. And I propose the question that the sum stated for program 071 National Assembly capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for program 071 National Assembly capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, PS Finance and Deputy Clerk for taking, and the Minister's staff for taking us through that agency. Now invite you to turn to pages 84 and 85.
Change, right?
And invite members of the Auditor General to join the Honorable Minister. No less a person than the Auditor General, Mr. Deodat Sharma himself and his staff. And I propose a question that the sum stated for Agency 8, Program 081, Audit Office current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Ms. Lawrence. Seem to have a pamphlet inside the microphone. Somebody must be broadcasting from outside.
Is that a bee? It sounds like a
There it
bee.
is. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, could the Honorable Minister tell us what is the strength of the engineers department of the audit office?
Honorable Minister.
The strength of the audit office engineers department is 7 engineers, madam.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member Ms. Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could the Honorable Minister say whether there will be an increase in the number of engineers for the Auditor General's department, given that we have some $737.6 billion in capital expenditure this year?
Honorable Minister.
I think Madam Lawrence is well aware that if the Auditor General desires to increase the number of engineers, he goes through the PAC with a recommendation and the PAC determines whether it supports or not. So we have not, as far as I know, I remember, have received a request recently from the Auditor General. The Auditor General is welcome to do that. And I'm sure the PAC will take seriously his request.
Thank you,
Minister.
Mr. Chair. May I?
Go ahead.
Just to remind Honorable Minister, I don't sit on the Public Accounts Committee and I will not be aware of what the Auditor General submitted. However,
Just
I
to
would
interrupt
like
you,
to
just,
know-
Mrs. Lawrence, could you hold for 1 sec? Let me interrupt you. We did approve at the PAC 3 engineers to bring it up to 7 last year. So that's how we get the 7. 3 were added in 2024. I didn't say that you're in the PAC. I said that you are familiar with the PAC because you were there for a very long time. An old stalwart in the PAC. Clean up my Paul and these guys, huh?
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Mr. Chair, could the Minister indicate what is the fleet, the number of vehicles available to the Engineers Department?
Honorable Minister.
I'm advised that there's 1 vehicle for the Engineers Department at this point. Because you didn't ask about the fleet for the whole Auditor General, just the Engineers Department. Yeah, 1.
Honorable Member.
Thank you. No, Mr. Chair, I'm finished.
Honorable Members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 8, Program 81, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated stands part of the estimates. Please turn to page 492. And I propose a question that the sum stated for Agency 81, capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. And now, Honorable Member, Ms. Ferguson.
Where is your cap?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, pleasant morning to you
Thank
and
you.
the entire House. I note that the
I don't have it.
Audit Office is requesting 26,120,000, and it's for the procurement of vehicle, furniture, and equipment. So can the honorable member provide a disaggregation of this amount for the intended purposes of purchase? The type of vehicle to be purchased? Yes, capital. Yeah, you put it. Yeah, 492. And where the vehicle will be assigned.
Breakdown account.
Thank you very much.
I need a breakdown. Pass me back that. Pass me back what you gave me.
Honorable Minister.
You just gave it to me. Just give me 1 sec, please.
Sure.
You just gave me the capital. Just pass it back. I just have a breakdown. This one does. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Can I sit down every now and again, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, you may. Yes.
Thank you. Um, You're correct. There's 10.5 million for purchase of a motor vehicle for the office. This is to service transport staff on audit assignments, physical verification, and daily administration costs. Then we have the balance of that being used for laptops, hard drives, wireless mouse, 30, the quantity is 30 at 280 a unit, 280,000 a unit. These are assigned to staff to conduct audits. 15 will use to 15 audit clerks and 15 to replace systems that cannot run updated programs. The cost of that is 8.4 million. Multifunction printer, 800,000. Scanner, 800,000, and 2 multifunction printers. 13 filing cabinets at 65,000, 845,000. 3 executive chairs at 81,000, coming up to 243,000. Typist chair 20, 1.4, 1,460,000. Refrigerator 8 at 60,000, 480,000. Executive desk 1 at 97,000. This is because the former one was not in good condition. Writing desk 7 to replace desk in the audit manager's office and audit section. These are 7 desks at 776,000, coming to 532,000. Water dispensers 7, 595,000. Bookshelf 2 at 150,000. So that's how we get the 26 million.
Thank you, Minister.
Right?
Honourable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 8, Program 492, Capital Expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Thank you, AG and your staff and Minister staff for taking us through that with your Minister. Now invite you to turn to honourable members, to turn to pages 88 and 89. Public and Police Service Commission. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 9, Public and Police Service Commissions, Program 091, Current Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honourable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 9, Program 091, Current Expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honourable members, let's turn to the capital of Program 091, and that is on page 493. And I propose a question that for Agency 091, Capital Expenditure, I propose a question that this sum stands part of the estimates. Honourable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 091, Public and Police Service Commissions, Capital Expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favour say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Thank you, Minister and the staff, for taking us through that agency. Honourable members, please turn to page 92 and 93. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 10, Program 101, Teaching Service Commission, Capital Expenditure. I propose the question that the sum stated sorry, I put a question that the sum stated for Agency 101, Teaching Service Commission, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put a Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 101, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Please let us turn to page 494. Program 101, Teaching Service Commission, capital expenditure, and I propose the question that the sum stated herein stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 101, Teaching Service Commission, capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Thank you, Minister and the staff of Teaching Service Commission. Members, I turn your attention now to Agency 11, pages 96 and 97. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 11, Elections Commission, Program 111, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Ms. Geeta Chandan Edmond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Appendix C, page 673, other goods purchase. The amount here is over $1 billion. Can the Honorable Minister disaggregate the sum? I know a bulk of this money will go in preparation of hosting GRE later this year, but a disaggregation would provide clarity. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
I'm afraid I'm not sure which area you're looking at, head or subhead or,
Appendix T, page
Yes,
673,
I'm there.
other goods purchase.
oh, other goods. I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. This is, Madam Chandan Edwards, to provide security for all GECOM registration offices and cash escorts from the central bank, maintaining the effective functioning of all equipment, extermination, etc., fumigation. That comes to under Program 1 at 605. We also have under Program 2, 508,420,000. So, do you have a further breakdown on that? This is, I believe, in preparation for the elections in terms of having more security at all the registration offices, and obviously it would be, I assume, the polling stations, etc. Right?
Thank you, Minister.
Yes.
Honorable Member, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Minister, under education and training, 193 million has been allocated. Can you indicate how much of this money will cater for voter education and training?
Minister.
Hmm? Hmm? To answer your question, this head does not include the training of civic education. This does not include, public education. This is to do with refunding persons trained for their transportation costs, public transportation, and provision of the participants in the training programs with lunch and snack. This is mostly to do with assuming training of temporary election day staff.
Honorable Member Gita.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Honorable Member Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. On the very page 673, recurrent expenditure, rental and maintenance of buildings. Mr. Chair, through you to the honorable member, I note we have,
Could you just give me a minute? I'm trying to clarify
Okay.
something here. Could you hold your horses? Yeah. Yes, where is it? You must have some budget for education. So it's on the print one, print out.
We wait 5 months for election results. Can't wait 2 years. 5 months. 5 months is country was on hold.
Remember, it's
Back to our
collapsed here, so just give me where it is
I am
under
tired
the
of
T.
country. And a year and a half after the no confidence vote. It's not early, it's a good reminder. That's what it is.
Yeah, I had forgotten. Thank you, Kwame. Keep reminding me.
You're telling me 628, but it's not helping. I don't have 628. You have to tell me. Under others, it doesn't matter. We're going with this. So where is it? Under other goods and services or other operating expenses? How much is it? We're dealing with those programs together. Do you understand the T form? Thank you very much. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, Ms. Halley. In the question to do with public education, if we look at the areas of other goods and services purchased, you will find 427,500,000 for production of infomercials for radio and television, 91,500,000. Publication of notices in local newspapers, 63 million. Advertisement for election workers, 3 million. Printing of manuals, 95 million. Procurement of t-shirts for election day staff, 135 million. Printing and distribution of flyers and brochures, 15 million. Engagement with civil organizations, 25 million. And you come up to your 427,500,000, which would cover civic education, public awareness, infomercials, etc. That's, I think I've answered your question now. Is that correct? Yeah, can, Annette, if you want to go now.
Member Ferguson.
okay.
Oh,
Time.
just one thing on the question earlier on training, which was asked, education training. I did forget to say that this is involving 19,000 people being trained for election day staff, right? So that figure of, that we gave and the amounts and so on, this is going to cover the training programs and the selection and, you know, identification and all the election day staff. So that's including the training package. So 19,000 people have to be trained as temporary election day staff. Okay, I'm sorry to have forgotten that.
Member Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I hope we'll get back our time loss. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, if I can turn the honorable member.
You have 2 hours and 10 minutes. Didn't my fault?
If I can turn the honorable member attention to maintenance, rental and maintenance of buildings. I note the Commission is requesting $227,307,000. Can the honorable member explain the reason for this increase as against what was spent in 2024. Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister,
Yeah.
you can sit,
Thank you.
Minister.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Thank you.
I'll pull the
Mr.
microphone down a bit.
Has to go quite a bit down, I'm short. Rental and buildings, as you asked, 227 million, 305,000. This is the rental of 13 buildings at various rates, 73 million, 205. And then there are things that have to be provided for the buildings, cleaning materials, etc., at 23 million, 250. Maintenance of buildings, 8 million, 150. Rental of buildings for polling stations, 122 million, 700,000. And this is under two programs. Program 1, 94 million, 744, and Program 2, 132 million, 561. So this is all, the increase obviously is because of elections and that we have to have polling stations. Some may be free public buildings, others may have to be rented. Right.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you
Member
very much,
Ferguson.
Honorable Member. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. No further question on this item.
Member
Miss-
Mahipol.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, I've noticed that on the wages and salaries, employment cost in 2024, we expended a sum of 1,808,863,000. And for 2025, we have budgeted a sum of 1,761,666,000, a decrease from last year. May I ask the Honorable Minister, given that salaries were increased by 10% last year and for the 8% this year, why is there a decrease in the employment cost?
Honorable Minister.
The wages and salaries cover the following categories of employees, including all the benefits for AR assistant returning officers, 320 million and 143. Drivers, 226 million 741. C and VE assistants, what's that? Civic and voter education assistants, to go back to Madam Tabita, 320 million 143. Returning officers, 423 million 925. Security officers, 430 million 532. Managers, 794 million 573. Chief elections officer and deputy chief elections officer, accounting officer, and ACO, they total up as well. So the total program 1,603,912. This also includes the temporary election day polling staff. Is that correct? No? Okay.
Sir, thank you very much.
Member Mahipol.
I thank the Honorable Minister for that breakdown. My concern, sir, is that this is an election year, 2025, and there has
Where
been
is it?
salary increases in 2024, which took the employment cost to $1,808,000,000 plus dollars. Reflected in the numbers before me in Appendix T is a decrease from that sum. If salaries are being increased, why is this number reflected here as a decrease from 2024?
Honorable Minister, an explanation.
As you will see, the overhead expenditure were decreased, partly because there was less overtime paid in 2024. It was an election year. And therefore there was a sizable decrease in comparison to 2023, which was an election year for local government. There also were several employees did not qualify for leave passage allowance because of their employment date, and so forth. So there was a decline from 393 1,963 to 149,88. And so the benefit allowances for approximately 336 staff, these are permanent staff, is 69,059,000. Employee NIS 66,392,000. Overtime 500 hours per staff a year at 14,437,000. That is program 1
Thank
under
you.
the Elections Commission, but in the T form it's under overhead expenditure, right?
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, may I ask the Honorable Minister for the salaries and benefits of the Chief Elections Officer at the Guyana Elections Commission?
Honorable Minister.
I don't know it. I don't know it.
Just to inform my friend, Mr. Maipol, that the statutory wages and salaries for the commissioners also increased by 10%. So you will note that between the revised 2024 and the statutory wages and salaries, they have gone up from 72 million to 226 million and 74,000. This is the annual salary for chairman, commissioners, stipends for scrutineers that are doing the continuous registration. So that's why there's a big increase. In relation to the CEO, statutory benefits, let's see, that's under wages and salaries, right? Right. Oh, I need a magnifying glass for this. 1,937,732. What allowance is that? NIS 23,520,000. Duty allowance 500,000. 100,000. Entertainment allowance, this is an annual figure, my fault. 200,000. Housing allowance 350,000. Security allowance 220,000. A uniform allowance. That's once a year. And then gratuity is 5,231,876. Vacation allowance is 1,937,732. And so the monthly total is 3,331,252. And the total grand total for 12 months is 44,724,632.
Thank you, Minister. Member Mahipal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, would the Honorable Minister be kind enough to also give us the salaries and benefits for the Deputy Chief Elections Officer?
Minister.
You're walking home, magnifying glass. This is kidneys. Yeah, the Deputy CEO. You have a ruler? Just 1 second. The DCO, CEO, this monthly salary, 1,229,883, 23,520, NIS, 150,000, duty, 17,000, traveling, 30,000, entertainment, 75,000, housing, 125,000, security, 140,000, uniform. The, oops, sorry, just 1 second. Yeah, space. Yeah. 3,074,485, gratuity, 1,138,608,698, vacation allowance, 1,319,218, is the monthly payment, and the total payment annually is 20,043,799.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you,
Member
Mr. Chairman.
Manipal.
Mr. Chairman, my final question on the wages and salaries. May I ask the Honorable Minister to provide us with the salaries and benefits for the Chair Lady of the Guyana Elections Commission?
Yeah, the chairperson of GECOM, and I don't want to personalize, because remember, we don't use names. The chairperson, the basic salary is 2,780,968. NIS contributions, 4,200. The monthly total is 2,785,168. Total of 33,422,020. Any other questions? 33,422 and 20,000 annual.
Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 111 Elections Commission current expenditure, that the sum stated herein now stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, please turn to page
Yeah, I've got it.
495. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 111, for Program 111, Agency 11, Guyana Elections Commission, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Ms. Geeta Chandan Edmond. No. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 111, Elections Commission Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Thank you, Minister, and the staff of the Guyana Elections Commission, including the Chief Elections Officer, the Deputy. Thank you very much.
Questions?
Let me invite the members of the Supreme Court to join Minister Teixeira. And I invite members to turn to pages 288 and 289. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 55, Program 551, Supreme Court of the Judicature, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Program 551, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, please turn to page 521. And I propose the question that the sum stated for program 551, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, Ms. Geeta Chandan Edmund. See if we can use the next one. Or you'll have to use a Mahipal voice. Yeah, I noticed Mr. Mahipal mic also was.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Through you. Minister, there's an allocation of 2,205,000,000, which is a provision for courts, living quarters, etc., the payment of retention. Can you kindly disaggregate the sum, the location of these courts and living quarter that is catered under this project code here? Also, the payment of retention, can you indicate it's for which project and the location of this project, please?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam. There are lots of projects and very important ones, and I think this will be a great fillip for and the continuation of the building of the infrastructure and architecture of the judicial system so it can function more efficiently, as well as to have people having access to justice regardless of where they live. So the 2,205,000,000 has been disaggregated as follows. You have, and I'll get rid of the easiest ones and then come to the buildings. The land and water transport has 4 vehicles at a value of 8 million estimated, and purchase of new fielder wagon motor vehicle for Fort Wellington Magistrates Court, 7 million. So 15 million for land transport. For furniture and furnishing many of the new magistrates courts and the ones that are coming on stream, 436,530,000, and these include things like generators, automatic changeovers, living quarters you asked about, consultancy services, intercom systems, variation on design and implementation on the e-litigation program for the Supreme Court of Judicature and the Court of Appeal. This is 221,427,000. This is part of a variation on a contract for manpower increase on the project of e-litigation, supply and installation of solar panels at Madia, photocopiers, and printers, computers, scanners, air conditioners, units, for example, generators, chairs, desk, and the usual things to go into offices. So that's 436 million. The large bulk, which is 1.7 billion, they go in the following way. There, as you know, a number of magistrates' courts are under construction. Some of them are in the what you call defects liability period. So Cove and John Magistrate Court, Myconic Magistrate Court, Cove and John Magistrate Court and Friendship Magistrate Court are all under final retentions. So is Fort Wellington, Suddy, for example. Then you have what are the magistrates' courts such as Myconi, Timeri, Anna Regina. These are all IPCs and practical payment certificates that have started. La Parfait Harmony is in that bracket as well. 2-story building to house 2 magistrates' court, living quarters, conference and training facilities at Providence. That is 221,615,000. Construction of an annex to Suddy Magistrates Court, 102 1,244,000. Rewiring of WIM Magistrates Court, Region 6, 4.6 million. Additional rehabilitation front of Suddy Magistrates Court, 80 million. That's again interim payment. Construction access bridge to new Anna Regina Magistrates Court, 39,281,000. And electrification of Madhya Magistrates Court. This is the 10% contingency on the contract, 3,330,000. Now, the new projects that are listed also under this include capital contribution of GPL for electricity supply at Friendship Magistrates Court, Supreme Court's capital contribution required to purchase items for the supply of electricity for Friendship Magistrates Court. The same thing in relation to a medium voltage cable with accessories for supply to Mabaruma. Phase 2 completion of Cove and John Magistrates Court of 156,600,000. You'd be pleased to hear that in this new capital, we have included elevator shafts or elevators, which will be important in terms of our program to make buildings more and more accessible to people with disabilities and the elderly and so on. So New Amsterdam, there will be completion of the elevator shaft and rehabilitation works in New Amsterdam High Court, 15 million. The elevator shaft at Vigilance Magistrates Court, that is 4.6 million. This is a modification. Also another modification at the Court of Appeal to facilitate the installation of an elevator, 16 million. That's Kingston, which you all know. Again, another modification of elevator shaft at Port Kaituma, Region 1, 9.2 million. Modification of elevator shaft at Mabaruma Magistrates Court, 9.2. For those of you who use the Georgetown High Court, there's an extension of the female washroom. Paling of the North Revetment at Charity, Children Court, 2 million. Upgrade and electrification of Charity Magistrates in Children Court, 10 million. Phase 3, completion of Madhya Magistrates Court, 41,886,886. Construction of the new wing of the New Amsterdam Sub-Treasury, Family and Land Court Building, 164,400,000. Construction phase extension of Judges Quarters, New Amsterdam Berbice. As you know, we have more judges than before. This is that's why I'm surprised none of you asked questions on the current, but we now have 19 judges. We have 19 judges, and we should be proud as Guyanese that 70% of the judiciary in Guyana is female. We have the highest percentage of women in the globally, of women who are judges. We should, hold our head up high, girls. Beg your pardon?
Garvey named them, you bring in a man from overseas to take them over. Garvey named them.
At this point, there are the 70% of the judiciary in Guyana are female. I didn't call any names, and I advise my policies we should not do that. Construction of rewiring of New Amsterdam High Court, 11,891,000. Rewiring of Redenhoop Magistrates Court, 21 million. Wiring of the New Amsterdam High Court, 52,693,000. Construction of Mahaika Magistrates Court and living quarters, 57 million. Construction of a mediation legal resource conference center at, I think this is Essequibo, 76 million. So this comes up to the grand total of 753,470,000. So I think when we look at the capital of the judiciary, we really feel confident that the judiciary is we're really investing in the infrastructure for the judiciary as we've never done before. And we're having modern magistrates courts, modern facilities, You now have the e-litigation where you can file electronically, even for the family court, I understand, and the land court. This is going to make things much easier, faster, more efficient, and accessible to the Guyanese. So I think we should feel really proud of the investment in the judiciary and their role in making sure that access to justice is protected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Program 551, Supreme Court of the Judicature, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated stands part of the estimates. Thank you, Honourable Minister and the staff of the Supreme Court for taking us through that agency. Members, please turn to pages 292 and 293. And I invite the staff of the Public Prosecutions Office to join the Honorable Minister.
I was never been to the BBI. That's what I never been to the BBI in my entire country. And the world got to where.
And as the staff joins Minister Teixeira, I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 56, Program 561, Public Prosecutions Current Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honourable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 561, Public Prosecutions Current Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Members, please turn to page 522, and I propose the
Mr. Speaker, could I just interrupt you for 1 minute? Could you bring to the attention of the House, this was one of the agencies that had a errata? That there was an errata for the DPP's office that
But
was
the
circulated.
but the
on-
sum stated
on
remained the
Thursday.
same.
Beg your pardon?
The sum requested remained the same.
Okay, all right.
Yes. So the sum is correct.
Yeah, just
The
that the
sum requested.
capital was originally omitted, that's why. It's when you come to capital, it was omitted and then it was corrected. So the
Thank you,
the total,
Minister.
as you said, is correct.
Honourable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 561, Public Prosecutions Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honourable member, let us thank the Honourable Minister and the staff of the DPP's office for taking us through that agency. And I invite you to turn to pages 296 and 297. And invite the staff of the Office of the Ombudsman to join us. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 57, Program 571, Ombudsman Office, Current Expenditure. And I propose the question that the sum stated herein stands part of the estimates. I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 571, Current Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated stands part of the estimates. Please turn to page 523. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Program 571, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 571, Ombudsman Office, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Thank you, Minister and staff of the Office of the Ombudsman. Honorable members, I now ask you to turn to pages 300 and 301. And I propose the question that the sum stated for the Public Service Appellate Tribunal, Program 581, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 581, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated stands part of the estimates. Please turn to page 524. And I propose a question that the sum stated for Program 581, Public Service Appellate Tribunal Capital Expenditure. And I propose the question that the sum stated stands part of the estimates. I put the question that the sum stated for Program 581, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, please turn to pages 304 and 305. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 59, Ethnic Relations Commission, Program 591, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates.
Yes, sir.
Honorable member, Ms. Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, to the Honorable Minister. Minister, I ask you to turn to page 709. And I'm looking at other recurrent charges. You have an $87 million increase from last year to this year. Could you kindly indicate to us what specific items is either added now or services is added for 2025, or those which would have been budgeted to incur a higher cost than last year?
Honorable Minister.
Coming, oh, now. Yeah, under this head, you have a number of areas such as materials, equipment and supplies, fuel and lubricants, rental of buildings, maintenance infrastructure, utility costs, etc. So that a number of these have increased, taking into consideration there will be elections, and the Ethnic Relations Commission plays a role in terms of monitoring, and also I believe it will be putting forward its own observer mission or observer team to the elections, so that the increase under materials, equipment and supplies actually decreased, but the main focus on that is on supplies for stationery for election monitors and observers, for training sessions and regional outreach programs. And so in 2024, there were a number of areas that were not catered for. Fuel and lubricants have gone up from 1.3 to 4.2, based on increased volume of outreaches in 2025, and regional visits and so forth. Under rental of buildings and maintenance of buildings, the Commission intends to repaint the building internally and externally in 2025. As you know, the Ethnic Relations building, that the building is shared with the Other Rights Commission. However, the ERC is the one responsible and is given funds from time to time to maintain the entire building. And so in this case, they have funds put aside, and this is where there's a slight increase, to replace the damaged part of the roof, awning on the second floor, replace windows, replace the rotten ceiling, And so there were broken windows, general repairs. So this comes up to approximately 11, sorry, comes up to, doing up total there, approximately about, that's what I said, 11 million. It also envisages some increase in keeping the building in terms of materials for the building, in terms of cleanliness and hygiene, maintenance of infrastructure, which is another head, right? Right. So other recurrent is the increase, as I've said, from transport also gone up as well, in terms of mobilizing in terms of transportation costs for election monitors and observers to attend training and to monitor meetings during the period, as you know, that is done. And so that has gone up from 12.7 million to 49 million, which is quite a sizable increase, including transportation costs, accommodation for regional visits to the 10 administrative regions, and participants coming to outreaches, and so forth. So that this is, and it also has traveling and accommodation for staff of the investigative unit who may have to increase visits to outlying regions. There are other aspects of this to enhance the skills and knowledge of the staff, exposure to international best practices, and this also includes insurance coverage and third-party insurance, and for servicing repairs of 3 vehicles. It also caters for the increase to more chartered regional flights, 20,128, sorry, and boat rentals. This is underwear. Yeah, but here, where is it? Yeah, but you have 20 million. Yeah. Okay, so you have 20 million for charters and 12 million for boat rentals for staff and commissioners. So that's how we come up to the 49.014 million.
Thank you, Minister.
Miss,
Honorable Member, Ms. Ferguson.
thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, follow up to the honorable member. Can the honorable member state how many observers the ERC will be catering for?
Minister.
I'm advised that the ERC is catering to 100 long-term, meaning those that are brought in prior to or a good time before the elections, and 200 for election day itself.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, honorable
Member Ferguson.
member. No further
Honorable
questions.
members, I now,
Sir.
Honorable Member, Ms. Natasha Singers.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. Comrade Chair, the ERC, two impacts listed in Volume 2 says to reduce ethnic discrimination, to improve race relations, ethnic security, and equal opportunities. Those are the impacts stated. My question is, does the ERC have a strategic plan that guides its work?
Yes, madam, it's on their website, the ERC website.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Comrade Chair, one of the strategy of the ERC is to investigate complaints of racial discrimination and to refer to the Human Rights Commission for further action if necessary. Could the ERC say whether they have referred any complaints investigated to the Human Rights Commission anytime during this last period?
If you look at Volume 2 with the indicators, it explains how many complaints were received, investigated, etc. However, you're well aware, madam, that the HRC is not constituted in terms of the chairperson. The other four chairpersons are there, but not the chairperson overall. So the secretariat continues to handle, under the constitution, they're allowed to. But they have no commission as such because there's no chairman, and that therefore there's no need in addition to any investigation or completion of investigation by the ERC to the Human Rights Commission. There's no requirement to do that. They can refer to 12 other agencies, and/or if they feel it is criminal, they can then refer to the DPP's office and the Commissioner of Police. So they do not have to go to the HRC to bring any matter that they feel is concluded and requires disciplinary action or legal action or criminal action to the HRC. That constitution doesn't require them to do that. And so it's not an impediment to their work, in other words.
Thank you, Minister. Member
Mr. Chair, just a
Singh-Lewis.
follow-up. I'm happy for the response from the Honorable Minister. Could the Minister say if any matter was referred to the DPP?
I'm advised that 4 were sent to the DPP. 4
Thank you,
complaints
Minister.
and investigations concluded was sent to the DPP's office.
Thank you, Minister. Our member
Mr.
time,
Chairman.
Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, on the wages and salaries, there's an increase here of $134,583,000. Last year, we spent $130,265,000. From this allocated sum for this year, would the 12 employees who are not in receipt of their 10% increase due to a discrepancy at the Ethnic Relations Commission, would they be paid their 10% from this allocated sum and also their 8%?
Honorable Minister.
This increase is the 10% or not? As far as I know, the staff that are eligible are receiving the 10%, and of course, as usual, with the Ministry of Finance, if the 8%, as you're saying, is not included, that Ministry of Finance releases those funds accordingly when the instruction is given. So they don't have to worry about that.
A follow-up, Comrade Chairman.
Go
Yes.
ahead.
With reference to the answer, the query has to do with the 12 staff that did not receive their 10% last year. And I'm asking if in this sum, that 10% is covered for the 12 staff that did not get their increase due to a discrepancy. And may I ask, what was that discrepancy?
Minister.
The commission on its own decided to increase salaries for 12 people, which were way beyond a 10%, 8%, and further up than 10%. So 12 people's salaries were increased to very large amounts. And therefore, the discussion that was held between the government and the ERC is that those 12 should be red circled, as in the previous, when we used to do that, because their salaries were way beyond, a number of them were way beyond what would be even a 25% increase. And so that is why they were not paid the 10% for 2024. It is something that we have to keep reviewing, but it was unknown to the government and it was discovered late last year, November, but it had been put into place in December 2023.
So
Thank you,
may I,
Minister.
a follow-up, sir. Do commissions have the authority to unilaterally increase the employee's salary without the approval of the government and an order from cabinet?
Nope. You're absolutely correct. They do not have the authority. As with the ruling of Harnandan, Justice Harnandan, that the constitutional bodies are subject to review under the financial and procurement laws, etc., and by Parliament. And therefore, this decision was unfortunately unauthorized. We are trying to rectify it now because the staff is there and there's staff that are important and need to be kept. But at the same time, all the commissions, all the constitutional bodies, if they want increases in salaries or allowances and stuff, they have to request. It goes through the Ministry of Finance, and I also review them because I have to answer for the constitutional bodies, and we try to handle those on a case-by-case basis. But it cannot be done just unilaterally.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A
And that's why
follow-up?
there's the problem.
Yes, a follow-up, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Given that this has happened, what action has been taken and what action is being taken to ensure that we don't have a reoccurrence of such?
We have advised the Commission in writing that there was a breach and that, and what has to be done in the interim, but to warn them that this should not reoccur. And so it is a rather strong letter, but one that we try to make sure that the Commission was relatively new. Some of the staff were relatively new, they may not have known, but this was a decision of the Commission, not the staff. And that's where the Commission itself has to be held accountable and not the Secretariat as such.
Sir, a follow-up?
Go ahead.
May I ask the Honorable Minister for the designation of the 12 offices that received this substantial increase, and if the minister will be kind enough to provide what was the percentage increase, direct percentage increase given to each of the 12?
Yeah, we don't have the percentage here, we'd have to provide that. Could I ask that this, because I have a list here of the full staff, but I don't have it disaggregated with the 12. So if we could prepare that as a separate group and the percentage increase, no names, of course, right?
That will be greatly appreciated, Comrade Chair. Thank you very much.
And that would be circulated to the House as requested.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chairman.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes.
Minister, could you remind us whether the tribunal for the ERC was actually established?
No, it is not. Of course, there's provision for that, but with all tribunals, it has to go through a process which includes the president appointing the persons. Secondly, is that it's triggered when there are cases to be referred to a tribunal. My understanding is that no case of the ERC, since its formation, has ever required that a tribunal now take up and hold court and review it. And so there's been no, urgency to develop that, because it would be a tribunal sitting doing nothing. I mean, if you look at the PSAT we just passed, they did 2 cases in 2024, costing quite a lot of $1 million. And so the tribunal in the ERC case, if there are no cases that warrant a tribunal, then you'll be spending a lot of money on people just sitting and looking at each other.
Thank you, Minister.
Except I think.
And by the way, the
just in
ERC, sorry, just to cut you, the ERC Commission is completely separate from the tribunal. The tribunal
aware.
members and have nothing to do with the ERC, as you know.
I'm
as
aware
all
of that. That's
tribunals.
why I asked the question, because on the last occasion that we met with the ERC, one of their challenges was stated as being unable to investigate some situations to the level that's required because the tribunal did not exist. So I'm very curious as to whether there is a time frame, because at some stage it is going to be required to enable the ERC to effectively do their job.
The tribunal has nothing to do with investigation. The tribunal is a tribunal, it's hearing a case. It doesn't have investigation. The investigation is done by the ERC, and if required by the police or some civil law enforcement and the DPP. But it does not, the tribunal under the ERC Tribunal Act has no role to play with investigation, absolutely none. So I think that whoever told you that the commission is misguided.
I may have worded it incorrectly, but the reality is that if a case needs to come, can we say to this nation, when at some stage we would be considering putting a tribunal in place, or are we going to wait until there is a need and then wait to put the mechanism in place?
I think we have to remember a couple of things. The context of the Constitutional Reform Commission in 1990 to 2001, we didn't have a constitutional court. We didn't have certain courts that are available to us now. And therefore, the ERC can go to the case of a constitutional violation or a person being accused of violating the Constitution straight to the Constitutional Court and then go all the way up to the CCJ. There's no need for the tribunal. So I'm saying that, I'm not saying there never will be a tribunal. I'm just saying that when the Constitution was written, amended in 2001, it did not anticipate a number of new courts being created, including a constitutional court. And as far as I'm aware, some of that court tends to deal quite expeditiously with cases, if I'm correct. So time and context may not be as urgent for the tribunal if that scenario were to occur, that one has alternative recourse for domestic redress. So I wouldn't get too anxious, but one doesn't know when one looks at the volume 2, the number of cases investigated, if sent forward to the DPP, that the volume is not a large amount at this point.
Okay, honorable members, please. I'm still here.
Sorry, Mr.
Honorable
Speaker.
member, Mr. Maipor.
Yes, sir. A follow-up from the questions I asked earlier. Could the Honorable Minister please provide the salaries and benefits of the chairman and commissioners of the commission?
Yeah.
Minister?
Yes.
Sir, monthly, please. Thank you.
Yeah, we should have that. Commissioners, didn't I have that? I'm sure I had that. Sorry about the delay. This is just the CEO you want, or chairperson? Chairperson. So where's your breakdown? The chairperson's receives 403,710 basic salary, and that's the total. Any benefits? Benefit of travel allowance? No. Sitting fee of 60,500, and that's it. So the total is 726,000 annualized. I said sitting fees, 60,000, right? Yeah.
Honorable member, Ms. Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, can the Honourable Minister advise as to how complaints are received by the ERC? I'm noting that for 2024, we see a number of complaints at 95, but the number of complaints investigated at 103. So there are 8 additional investigations as compared to how many complaints were received. So my question is, Minister, is there an independent monitoring unit at the commission that goes out there and search for persons that may be in violation of ethnic relations rights?
I'm not aware that the ERC goes out and search for victims or people making allegations, but they hold community programs where people may raise at that time an issue, and they're advised what to do because you have to send in formal complaints. However, if you look at volume 2, page 275, the number of complaints received 95, but they've broken them down into years. So, sorry, 103
Investigated.
complaints, sorry, beg pardon, investigated. But some are for 2024 and some are for 2023. In fact, there are a number of cases going back even before 2020, which are still unable to be completed because some of the files have disappeared. And so the 103 includes 2023 and 2024. As of the time of reporting to finance, they may have come in after this report was prepared somewhere in September, November.
Thank you,
A
Minister.
follow-ups. Thank you. And I also noted, if the minister can advise, I also noted that for 2025, the target there is 240 for the complaints that is expected to be received, but the number of complaints that we're expecting to be investigated is 140. So basically, there's an expectation that of the 240, 100 complaints will not be investigated. Is this because of a lack of capacity for the commission?
Minister?
I might understand your first question is why such a massive increase?
I'm asking, why is it that the number of complaints that is expected is 240, while the number of complaints that will be investigated is 140, which is 100 less? So it's basically indicating that 100 complaints may be not investigated. So I'm asking, what is the reason if there's a lack of capacity within the body to do all the investigations as they come in?
This is a projection based on a number of factors. One is that this is part of the media monitoring. So during election time, there is media monitoring of political rallies to make sure that people are not violating the Racial Hostility Act, etc., and the Constitution. So this is anticipated that there will be, as there have been in the past, statements made at rallies or on the Facebook or in the television or whatever that would be inciting, etc., or ethnically divisive. The second issue that this is, I understand, is this figure is projected probably more for the second half of the year than the first half of the year, that is 2025, in anticipation election mode, campaign, rallies, etc., and that many of these will roll over into investigation into 2026 because they will come in the latter part of the year, closer to elections, etc. So that is how they have determined that, and they feel that they have investigators, and they, I believe, they are hiring legal officers and so on to assist, and media monitors, etc.
And for one final follow-up, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Could the minister say of the complaints that are received, could you disaggregate in terms of what the bulk comes from? If it's from social media, or it's from persons writing the commission, or is it from persons walking in? Where you're getting the higher volume of complaints coming from? And regions also. Which regions are they coming from the most?
Yeah, the annual report for 2023 was laid in Parliament. And so that would give you some idea of the annual report. 2024 has not been laid as yet in Parliament, but it will be soon. And so in that, you'll see a disaggregation of the type of complaints, I think, and where they come from and stuff like that. How much is social media? How much are persons coming in with complaints?
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Vince Wright Jordan.
A quick question. The UNDP has done some work.
You don't think I should apply the rule you have to be in your seat?
We're in committee. Would you like me to be in my seat, sir?
Yeah. But go ahead.
Thank you very much. The UNDP has done some work with the entity, Comrade Minister. I would just like to know how much of the recommendations from that UNDP report has been incorporated in moving the agency forward.
Minister.
There was a proposal that that we, yeah, they have been supporting e-monitoring, but the report you're talking about, I'm advised, has not been received as yet under this particular period.
Madam
Yeah,
Minister.
under this current commission, they have not received a report from the UNDP. There is a project that was being examined to do with strengthening the staff and looking at the organizational structure of the staff and training and creating, what do you call, looking in-house capacity building. But that is not a report, that's a project proposal.
Madam, through the chair, Madam Minister, the information is contained in the ERC's annual reports. I'm surprised that the entity would say they don't have reception of the report.
But which report? What is the report called, Sherrod? Could you help me?
It's in the annual report of the entity.
I am aware of that, but I'm asking you, I'm here in the house, I'm asking you, what is the name of the
I
report?
only have the information from the entity's report that makes reference to the recommendations made by the UNDP.
UNDP or UN? Which UN body?
The UNDP. It's in the report here.
But he says it's
I
in
can
the
quote
annual
some of
report.
it, goes back to what
Could you say which annual
Member
report,
Hughes said.
please?
I beg your pardon?
Could you say which annual report? Because 2023 was tabled.
2024.
2024 has not been tabled as yet.
It's on the website of the entity.
2024 is on the
That's what I'm
website
seeing
and
here.
not in the house? How could that be?
You can ask me.
There has to be a mislabel, but
The 2024 has only just been completed. The 24 only finished in December.
All right.
The 2024 is not on the website. It must be some mistake. But so the 2024 report
23.
goes up to December
hold on.
2024. It would not have been finished as yet, and when it is finished, it will be tabled in the House. 2023, I am advised, does not have a reference to the UN report.
Madam,
Where are we
Through the
using
chair.
the correct terms?
Madam Minister, the report makes reference to what Kathy said, Member Hughes, about the activation of the tribunal. It makes reference to raise the salary for commissioners and so on. So
I am totally unaware of that, and I've never seen it. And I don't know if it's UNDP or somewhere else. And whether it comes under election report, under an observer mission, I am not aware. But I am advised by the CO, it is not referred to in 2023 annual report.
Thank you, honorable members. This is a good time to put a question that the sum stated for.
Ask Mr. Duncan if he could provide me with a reference in the 2023 report, page number, if you would. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, to interrupt you. Huh?
Honorable Minister, the honorable member, Mr. Duncan. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for program 591, Ethnic Relations Commission, current
I don't know.
expenditure. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, please turn to page 525. And I propose a question that the sum stated for program 591, Ethnic Relations Commission, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, under this very line item, I note that 9.5 million is being allocated for the procurement of equipment and also for the, I guess, repairs or construction of a fence at the ERC headquarters there. So can the honorable member provide, sir, a disaggregation for the two items? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
9.5 million, one of the larger unit costs under the 9.5 is the fence on the southern side, which is made of wood and zinc. It's rotten, and so 2.3 million to put a concrete structure. on the southern side of the ERC building. A number of the other areas include really equipment, inverters, cameras for CCTV, computers, computer systems, telephones and so forth, as well as furniture, and then a number of things to do with backup systems, backup UPSs, storage units, headphones, keyboards, computer monitors, displayers or Blu-ray displayer. This is, I think, a disc burner, TV recording device or broadcast monitoring, hard drives, color laserjet pro printer, ceiling fans, Bluetooth computer speakers, voice recorders, portable projector screen and stand, printers, portable speaker with mic and built-in amplifier, and a gimbal. This is, and VO mics. So that all comes to 9.5. A
Thank you,
number of
Minister.
small equipment that's important for the ERC, particularly in the media monitoring areas, and others in terms of just furniture, equipment, and things for the office itself.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 591, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honourable members, let us turn to pages 308 and 309. And I propose a question that the sum stated for, let me thank the Minister and the staff of the RC for taking us through that agency and invite the staff of the Judicial Service Commission to join Minister. Thank you, honourable members. I now propose a question that the sum stated for Program Agency 60, Judicial Service Commission, Program 601, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 601, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Please turn to page 526. And I propose a question with the sum stated for Program 601, Judicial Service Commission, capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. I now put a question with the sum stated for Program 601, Judicial Service Commission, capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honourable Minister, thank you and your staff for taking us through that agency, and invite the members to turn to pages 312 and 13. And I propose to invite the staff of the Rights Commission to join us. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 61, Rights Commissions of Guyana, Program 611, Rights Commissions of Guyana, current expenditure. Honourable Member, Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, just before I put the question, actually, I just want to remind the
Don't make no statement. Put a question, please.
All right, sir. I noticed, sir, that we're approving allocations for the Rights Commission, and a number of these commissions have expired. The Rights of the Child expired since 2020. 2013. And then we have the Women and Gender Commission, expired since 2013. I know for a fact that through the committee of appointment, we have laid reports in this National Assembly, and we have done extensive work to ensure that these commissions are, we call it again, reconstituted. So the question to the honorable member is whether it's right for us to be approving allocations when we know for a fact that these commissions, the life of these commissions have been expired. There's one. We know for a fact that since their expiration, we have been approving monies to the National Assembly. I must commend the Women's and Gender Commission. They have been continuously laying the annual reports in this National Assembly. But for the other commissions, we are not getting anything, but we continue to approve monies. So my question to the honorable member, when can we see the reconstitution of these commissions? Because remember, in order for the Human Rights Commission to be constituted, these commissions must be reconstituted. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Minister.
Your question is not without merit. However, these, as you said, expired in 2013. The former government continued to allow them to operate, and so have we. And so 2015 to 2020, they were expired in 2013. No committee of appointment met and looked at any of these, except one, the IPC. And in the IPC, the representation of the indigenous people was reduced, and therefore we did not support that one that came to Parliament in 2018. So whether by convenience or policy, is that both governments have kept and allowed the commissions, including ERC, which was appointed subsequently, to continue without approval. So that's number one. And that's been going on for the last 11 years, so it's not something new. Secondly, the Committee of Appointment needs to go through the reports of the consultative process to complete the process, and to complete the process with the IPC. With the IPC, we were awaiting a confirmation from the NTC that the nominees they'd made years ago in 2018 whether remain the same. And of course they don't. So that we have work to do in the committee appointment, and I am guilty. I accept responsibility as the chairperson. So that, but the commissions continue to function. They're accountable for their money. They are having programs across the country. They are keeping their mandate according to the Constitution. They are not violating these areas. And if one were to take the line, which my friend seems to be indicating, that they should all be just closed down because they expired, like what's going on in the United States with USAID, we just close down shop. That would be a violation of our Constitution as well, because these rights bodies play an important role in terms of advocating for human rights in children and indigenous peoples and women. Secondly, in terms of creating a domestic remedy or where people can come to make complaints and to have their cases heard, and where can lead to changes and improvement and correction of wrong things. So that the choice, I believe, of the former government and the present government is they do no harm by continuing. They're not violating the Constitution in essence, and so let them continue until the process is democratic and concluded by the Committee of Appointment and the National Assembly. The other thing is that your reference to reports. Yes, there has been a backlog of reports. You're correct. Women and Gender have been very faithful in bringing their annual reports. The Rights of the Child tabled in 2024 2 reports, 2019 and 2020. They are expected to be bringing their other reports up to date. IPC, remind me? they're up to 2022. So yes, there is a slight backlog, but we have been encouraging them and pushing them to get their reports done and get in a timely way and catch up so that by 2025, there wouldn't be this gap for all the commissions reporting to the House. So that's that issue.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. Honorable Chair, through you to the Honorable Minister. Before I follow up, I just want to make it clear, I never said that the work of the commissions should be halted, right? All that I'm asking for or making an appeal as a member of the Committee on Appointment is for us to reconstitute our meetings and have these commissions reconstituted. Mr. Chair, to the Honorable Member, the Rights of the Child Commission, in this very House, we held consultation, I think it might have been in 2022, and there is a little controversy over the nominee. So can the Honorable Member state for the records the current members of the Rights of the Child Commission? Thank you.
Minister?
The consultation was in 2023, not 2022. And give me a second. The Rights to Child's Commission can help me with the names. The numbers have reduced in terms of what they still have a quorum. They are supposed to have 13 and they have, 15 and they have 10 with the chairperson and deputy chairperson.
Go ahead, Member
Mr.
Ferguson.
Chair, thank you very much. Through you. Is it to say that the Honorable Member will not provide the names of the remaining?
I'm waiting for the persons around me. I'm sorry, I don't have a magic bullet.
Sorry.
I'm waiting to be provided. I don't have those in my head. Huh? I may have some, but not all, and I don't want to make a mistake with Mr. Duncan here. He will put it in the ring that I don't know what I'm doing.
In the ring, in the rough, and in the raw.
But he never invites me in the ring. I'm quite willing to go in the ring with him.
Member Duncan, please invite the honorable member in the ring.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is. Which mask is this? Oh, Cynthia. Yeah, the chairperson, Alima Nazir, deputy Sandra Hooper. The other commissioners are Cynthia Massey, Mr. and Mrs. Miss Messiah, Miss Rambaran, Miss Paula Note, Miss Rosemary Noble Benjamin, and who is Anthony? Miss Colleen Anthony. And Reverend Finley. Oh, Suella, sorry. Suella Finley, beg pardon. So those are the present members. You've had some, I think, someone died? No, just, oh, that's women and gender, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? That's okay?
Mr. Chair.
Honorable members, I now put
Mr.
honorable
Chair.
member Ms. Jurada Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, can the Honorable Minister advise what are the 4 schools that, the dormitory schools that were monitored by the RCC in 2024?
Yeah. Yeah, which were the 4 dorms that were monitored? Yeah, you said 4 dorms. Yeah. I can't hear you. And where? Leonora. Okay. Yeah, the 4 dormitories that were monitored by the Rights of the Child Commission, Leonora, Madia, St. Ignatius, and Karasabai.
You said Lenore, I didn't get the first one.
Leonora,
Madia,
St. Ignatius,
and Karasabai.
and Karasabai.
Thank you, Minister.
And could a follow-up, sir? Please?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Could the honorable minister say, of the 15 schools that they are intending to monitor in 2025, do you have a list of those schools as yet, or is it just a projection made right now, whether or not those are disaggregated by region as yet?
Minister?
The 15 schools that they have for 2025 are all the schools that exist with dormitories.
Thank you, Minister.
No disaggregation by region as yet.
Well, the 15 dormitories are in region basically 1, 7, 8, 9, and 2, and 3. Yeah,
Thanks, Minister.
those are where the dormitories are.
Ms. Finance.
6 as a dormitory, yeah?
We
Okay.
have in 4 and 6 also. And that's why the 15 is 62% of the total amount. That's why I was putting the question.
Minister?
Yeah, I see what you say, yeah. So do you have a list of the 15 schools? Or then it's a projection?
15 schools.
Yeah, the commission, once its budget is approved, will then determine which of the 15 it will work with based on the agenda, based on the approval of the budget.
Thank you,
So
Minister.
the commission will decide that. They have not done so as yet, it's a projection.
Okay, thank you. They didn't put it together.
Honourable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for program 611. Current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Please turn to page 527. And I propose the question that the sum stated for program 611, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. I now put a question that the sum stated for program 611, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Thank you, Minister and the staff of the Rights Commissions, for taking us through that agency. We now invite the staff of the Public Procurement Commission to join Minister to take us through agency 62. Honorable members, I invite you to turn to pages 316 and 17. And I propose the question that the sum stated for program 62, Public Procurement Commission, program 621, Public Procurement Commission current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A different lineup this year, but hopefully the answers would be just as forthcoming. Sir, in volume 2, you ready, madam? Yes, and sir, in volume 2, sir, under the indicators, amendments, proposed amendments to Procurement Act in 2024, the PPC has said that they made 20 recommendations. So can the minister, PPC through the minister, one, identify to the assembly what were the 20 recommendations made? 2, when were these recommendations submitted? And finally, to which agency were these recommendations submitted? So a 3-part question to start.
Minister?
Recommendations that have been made to the Ministry of Legal Affairs. They've made recommendations, them around September last year. This, of course, has to go through a procedure and process with the cabinet and with the cabinet subcommittee on bills, etc., etc. We have not, I personally have not seen them, but I believe, as they've said, it's gone to the Ministry of Legal Affairs.
So,
Go ahead.
So doesn't the Public Procurement Commission, who you have officers there, have a copy of what they submit to Minister of Legal Affairs?
I would assume so. I have not seen it.
Well, we're hoping that they could provide us with the answers here. I know you've not seen it.
You want them to list what are the recommendations
Yes.
they're making?
I do think the public would like to know.
Well,
We
what's
can
the use
provide
of-
that.
Yeah, but the recommendations are their views. It has to go into a public consultative process. It doesn't mean that because they recommend that it's automatic. And you're well aware of that, Mr. Patterson. But the issue is that whether it's in a report or document to the Attorney General's office, as all draft legislation or draft recommendations. So whether we say it's, if they are general areas, the CEO could advise me, but I will not be able to share at this point what are draft recommendations by the PPC that have been seen by nobody in government at this point. And as far as I know, arose from some of the consultations and open days that the PPC had.
Thank you, Minister.
Right. Thank you very much.
Member
So,
Patterson.
thank you, Mr. Chair. So the response is that nobody in government has seen the recommendations. The Public Procurement Commission doesn't have a copy of the
No,
recommendations.
that's not the response. That's your interpretation of the response.
Well, sir, can you enlighten to me how you interpret it, sir?
No, you're questioning the allocation here and not my opinion. We could meet outside if you want that.
Okay, sir, I'll take you up, sir. Last time I did, I won. Sir, very good, sir. Can I ask the minister, sir, indicators 2 and 4, there's 5 submitted to the minister and then 5 in the investigations. Are these the same reports or the separate reports? In volume 2.
The minister referred to here is the Minister of Finance. There are 2, they will submit in 2025 2 annual reports and any subjected to investigations. They will submit separately or accordingly. The reports they've submitted, 5 have to do with the summary of findings from investigations plus 1 annual report. That is what makes up the 5. So there are 4 that deal with summary of investigations and 1 is an annual report. That's the 5 for this year. And the 5 for next year would be 2 annual reports and whatever others come up to do with reports on investigations, which could be less, could be more.
Right, that's what I'm asking, sir. So in the indicator number 4, they would have, they said they've completed 5 reports.
Yes.
5 investigations, the annual reports, but you're saying that they did 4 investigations and an annual report.
Yeah, in terms of number of reports prepared and shared, they have included annual report plus investigation reports as the 5 for this year and ditto for next year.
So there's a mistake in indicator number 4. They've only committed 4 in the...
Just a second.
Indicators I'm referring for 2025.
Yeah. You're talking about 2025 or 24?
Sir, the volume 2,
yeah, I'm there.
It says that they have completed in 2024 5 investigations.
Right.
You have just indicated that the reports that they submitted
were 4.
Were 4.
Yes.
So okay then, so they're different. Can the agency list the 5 investigations completed?
The fifth one is outstanding to go in, and that would, I guess, form part of 2025, as it was, may have been completed later in the year, 2024.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Sir, first up, sir, in 2024, the agency projected to train 1,200 persons. That was last year. However, only 536 were trained in 2024. Is there a reason for this shortfall?
Minister?
I'm advised that, yes, there is a decline in the number of persons trained in public procurement between last year and 2023 and 2024, partly because it was a new commission coming in and had a lot of outreaches and training. They're down to 536 now, which seems quite a manageable number with the regional democratic councils, ministries, other agencies, contractors, and suppliers. What they added on this year, which is not reflected in volume 2, is open days. So they held a number of open days, which had large attendance to explain about the commission and the procurement laws, etc. How many open days? And they had 5 open days, which were advertised, and I understand people turned up in good numbers.
Member Patterson?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize the members finished yet. Okay, so moving on then, let me move on.
Can I just, in terms you were asking about reports, I think it's important that in terms of these bodies, when they look at the, when you asked about the number of investigations completed annually, but I think we also need to look at, as we did with the ERC, the number of complaints that were received. And so foreign guest investigations from 2023 were completed in 2024. And the summary of the findings were published on the PPC website. So I think that's important to point out to the public who may not always know where to find these things, that the investigation reports from 2023 were completed in 2024 and published on the PPC website. For the year 2024, there were 12 complaints, and 1 met the threshold for investigation, was completed with a summary of findings published on the PPC website. 2 complaints were sent to the bid protest committee. 9 remaining complaints, 7 are closed and 2 are ongoing. So just to give you an idea of the work, and as I said, the PPC website post their reports there. And so that is part of their transparency to be accountable and to show their work. So I thought that would be of importance.
MP Patterson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, sir. Sir, in 2023, PPC trained 939, 2024, 536, bringing to a total for the 2 years, 1,575 persons. Can the PPC say how many of these 1,575 persons trained were able to win a contract with the government based on the training provided by PPC?
I'm not aware that the training was only with contractors. Is that what you're saying? You're the only persons trained contractors, or I'm the impression, maybe I'm wrong, that included regional staff, regional democratic council staff, ministries staff, other agencies are involved with procurement. And then there was one with contractors. So I'm not sure, it wasn't everybody together. So can I get clarity on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm particularly speaking about the contractors that you've trained. Can the PPC state the number of contractors that they trained that were successful based on the training,
Successful in what context?
being awarded a contract?
The PPC does not monitor that. The PPC does not have any responsibility for that. It's not in their mandate. One has to, and the contractors who are invited were contractors who I believe are already bidding. That is not, there's nothing in the PPC to require to monitor that whether they are successful in getting contracts. That's more the work of the politicians, Mr. Patterson.
No, well, very good, Mrs. Chair. Maybe let me rephrase the question for them. Does the Public Procurement Commission conduct follow-up interviews, sessions with persons that they have trained to ensure that to measure the effectiveness of their training? Because it's no use training people every year and then and somehow you have to adjust. Maybe to the training you provided them, they encounter different various other difficulties. Is there any follow-up with the persons trained, contractors in particular, by the Public Procurement Commission?
No, I'm not aware of that, but I think we have to go back to what is the training about. The training isn't about teaching people to bid, it's teaching people about the procurement laws of Guyana and the financial laws, and what the role of the PPC in all of this, in terms of complaints, in terms of the bid protest, bid review, etc. So that this is not meant to equip people with capacities to tender. This is to equip companies, for example, to know what the laws are and to abide by the laws and the requirements, including producing satisfactory work, etc., and what the law requires. So I think that one, we have to first understand what was the training about, as far as I understand, you can correct me. And secondly, the PPC doesn't have a responsibility to monitor. But this is where the number of the, what you call the private sector bodies who are involved in many of these things can also assist in terms of seeing whether this helps to make companies more compatible, more competitive, small business more competitive. Because this is about, one, learning the laws so that you can be more competitive. So you know how to get your documents ready, how you have to abide by the financial rules, etc., and the Procurement Act. So it's about making companies understand and to be compliant with and in compliance with. It is not a judging whether that has made them successful in tenders. The two are not necessarily connected.
Thank you, Minister.
Hello. Follow up, Mr. Chair. So is there any internally with the Public Procurement Commission, any performance indicators that so they can internally say to themselves the effectiveness, because you say they have no responsibility to follow up nor monitor. Are you saying that there's no internal performance indicators within the Procurement Commission to assess the effectiveness of their work?
Minister?
Alt must have indicators to assess the success of its work. The issue between you and I right now is what is the measure of the success? That's the difference. In that if they're having procurement training and going by the laws, their success may be held so many workshops, so many attended from the following agencies. These agencies are missing, we got to go back and get them. And that was the material received well? Was the material understood? Did people come away with greater awareness of the procurement laws and rules than before? Was this found to be a helpful exercise? So the measurements are different. Because there's no measurement PPC would create that says, having trained these people, how many of them successfully bid? Because one assumes, therefore, that you're inviting those who didn't successfully bid. This has nothing to do with bidding. This has to do with creating greater competition based on the laws and what the Procurement Act and laws provide. So they would never measure, well, we had 100 contractors and we've invited 100 contractors who can't get work. If that is what you're looking for, then they would have to deliberately invite contractors who don't get work in order to have a measurement that says now they're getting work. But when you're going to open and invite openly small contractors, medium and large contractors, to do this, to familiarize them, to make sure they are compliant with the procurement laws, you're not measuring whether they get jobs after. That's unrelated to what the PPC is doing. If they don't get jobs and they feel that they've been wronged, they can make a complaint to the PPC, and the PPC will have to investigate it.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. What I would have thought, and based on the media pronouncements by the PPC, they lamented quite often about the first-time contractors they trained, and I was simply seeking to say if after their training, if they follow up, but apparently not. So I'll move on, sir.
Go ahead.
Sir, reports, investigative reports, sir. In the investigation for the Bellevue contract, recommendation number 2 on page 25 of that report, sir. The public procurement, and I quote, recommends strongly the procuring entity strictly monitors the performance of the contract and they take the necessary steps, etc., including termination. Has the public procurement PPC followed up if the procuring agency is strictly monitoring the performance of the Bellevue contract?
Bellevue.
Minister?
Yeah. I wish to remind Mr. Patterson that yes, the report was done and sent to the NDIA, which is monitoring and working with the contractor to get the job done. I think the Minister of Agriculture, when he was questioned on Friday, he referred to the Bellevue. A question was asked about the Bellevue pump station, and he answered it saying that this was being worked on to try to get the work done, and also that they had, they're using the PPC document.
Thank you.
I used the wrong word. They acknowledged the PPC document.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, I was asking specifically, after issuance of the report, has the Public Procurement Commission done any follow-up in writing to the procurement agency for an update?
Minister?
When was that? Yeah, I'm advised, Mr. Patterson, that the NDI did follow up with a letter on requesting status of their recommendations and work going on there, and also had a site visit to the area with the engineer and the CEO, and this was early January this year.
Member Patterson.
Yeah, that's what I said. The Minister of Agriculture reported on this on Friday when he spoke.
This different entity altogether.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but the main issue, Mr. Patterson, based on your question, is that is the PPC following up on its recommendations on a particular report? And it is and has been as of early January this year. The report went in last year. I think what time was that? Yeah.
Sir, just for clarity, January, which is last month, was the...
Yes.
And is that report available publicly?
Well, the report would have to go to the commission. The commission would have to look at it, and then it would decide what gets published. So I am not aware when the meeting was, when they went, and when the PPC would meet.
Thank you
I
very
believe
much. So,
that you know the process.
not too sure I know the process, but I'll move on.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Sir, Madam Minister, you said the report will go to the commission. Can I ask, just before I start, how often does the commission meet?
Minister?
The commission meets once per week.
Very good. Sir, ma'am, well, Mr. Chair, through you.
Mr. Patterson, why are you having a gender problem with me?
You're such a strong person, sometimes I attribute, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, Madam Chair, you look, Madam Chair, you look strong today. Mr. Chair, once a week. Can I ask, last I didn't ask, but I wanted it for the record. Is the job of a PPC commissioner full-time or part-time?
The chairman is full-time. The chairman and the commissioners are not full-time. As remember, in the PAC of the 2015-2019 period, this was debated, and the report to the minutes of the PAC show that they are not full-time. They're not full-time. In other words, they're not employees. They're not full-time. They're part-time. But the chairman, obviously, because chairman of all commissions, whether full-time or not, are expected to be available at all times, particularly constitutional bodies.
Very, very good, Madam Chair. The recommendations made to are any of the recommendations provided to the minister, are any of them made so that the commissioners can now be full-time, so they could be more effective and meet once a month?
Once a week?
Once a week, sorry.
Well,
In light, of course, of the biggest budget ever, the biggest capital expenditure ever, is there any recommendation that we should now have full-time commissioners?
Well, I haven't
PPC.
heard it. I haven't heard it from the commission. I haven't heard a recommendation from the commission itself. I haven't heard any recommendation in the media, such as in the Ring. I haven't heard in the official media or from any of the politicians, or civil society. So a lot of these changes come about by opinions and recommendations and stuff like that. So from the commission, there's no recommendation. They're working once a week. They get their stipends, and they have investigative unit. They have increased their staff to bring them back up to capacity, and that I believe as they require more support and staff, they will make requests for that.
Thank you very much, Madam Teixeira. On the question of staff, can you tell this committee supply the staff vacancies that exist, not what are filled, the staff vacancies that exist within the procurement agency?
Minister?
At this point, they have 2 vacancies based on their organizational structure. One is an accountant and one is the head of the head operations manager. Those are
Minister.
2 vacancies. They've filled quite a number of the vacancies since they have been reappointed in 2023.
Yes, sir, in closing,
Yeah, they were appointed in 2023.
no, they're appointed 2022.
Oh, okay.
And
All right.
that was the question I was about to ask. Obviously, the life of this commission would expire in July of 2025.
Yeah. Yes,
Right.
I apologize. Yes, I got it mixed up with another commission. You're right. And therefore, the PAC will have to look at this issue prior to, if possible.
So, can I say, so from the term of the 3 years or 2.5 years, from what you said, the PAC has issued a sum total of 5 reports in 2.5 years. 4 reports, sir. 2 last year, 2 this year, in the 2.5 years. Investigative reports on their website.
Yeah, the question? What's
That,
the
that was a
question?
funny one. He added up the reports issued and asked you the same question to confirm it.
Yeah, yes, and I think that we have to remember a few things. One is that these commissions are like fire stations. They wait for things to come to them. You know, fire stations can't do anything if there's no fire. Commissioners need complaints, things being brought to their attention or to act under their mandate, particularly PPC, so that if there are complaints, investigations, they are mostly triggered by complaints. They can, on their own volition, investigate a matter if they believe so. That's not to stop the commission from doing that. But I also believe that the PPC had to go back and build its capacity, as many of the staff previously, their contracts had expired. And so between the time of when the PPC was appointed or reappointed or reconstituted and when it expired, the people's contracts ended and there was no way to extend them because there was no commission to do that. None of us have that authority that are not in the commission. Only the commission can propose renewals and reappointments or appointments. As a ministerial level, we can't interfere in that and just, when there's no commission, appoint people as staff. So that was adhered to. The PAC would have to review, and I want to say this, Mr. Speaker, that when we have these commissions, sometimes I think it takes time for any commission, regardless under which government, it takes time for these commissioners to get the hang of it. Do they themselves learn about the mandates and what rules they're governed by and to review that and all of that? It takes time. And therefore, one of the things I'd like to suggest, use the opportunity, is in the constitutional reform process that we include an extension clause that to allow commissions to be extended. Because right now, it appears in the Constitution, I'm not a lawyer, that one may have to go back to the PAC and go through that whole consultative process. But when you have commissioners that I think we not waste a lot of time, but I think we need to recognize that for a commission to really get capacity, really develop and or have the organizational capacity and build an institution that has capacity, that they need to have more than one term in office, in other words. So it's something I'm throwing out because I think that's something we need to consider.
Thank you, Minister.
Yes, Madam Chair, I agree that has merit, and I do think that if the Constitutional Reform Committee ever meets, I think that's a submission we can make.
We've met the Constitutional Reform Commission has met about 11 times, Mr. Patterson.
Yes. Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mai Paul, he comes to every meeting.
Mr. Chair, my final question. Yes, sir, of the 12 complaints submitted, I have this year or last year, most of them, the 7 or 8 of them were disqualified because they filed their complaint out of time. The procurement regulations has a specific time period between when the award is, when the contractor can object. So most of them, I think all of them are out of time. However, the complaint from the contractors is that MPTAB publishes the award after the award is made. So they're always out of time, and they use the MPTAB publication to trigger their award. So can I ask if the Public Procurement Commission has made any interventions, seeing that 70% of their, or 80% of the persons who complained were out of time based on the actions of MPTAB?
Minister?
Yeah, Just to clarify a couple of things, with complaints, there are complaints that a contractor may have felt that he got the wrong end of the stick in terms of a bid process, and therefore he can make a complaint, and that is dealt with in terms of the bid protest review period. There are also general complaints of another nature, which may be that they make, and now with the I'm just explaining. So there were 12 complaints made in, one fulfilled the investigation and was published. 2 went to the bid protest committee. 9 of the 9 remaining, 7 are closed and 2 are ongoing. And so what I understand from, I'm advised that the BPC spoke to the NPTAB about the problem that you're raising, that by the time a company knows an award has been made, its time has passed for them to make a protest, that this, they have committed to putting the date, and they've done it, the date on the website, right, of each of the tenders, so that you can look at it electronically and to see what the award is and what day the award is, so that whilst they're waiting for the paper thing, they can look on the electronically on the NPTAB, and they'll see the date and they can quickly get their protest in if they feel it warrants it.
No, Madam Chair, very specifically, and don't want to use up any more of my time. Contractors, and I have a list, at least 2 of them here, have said that the date that it is listed on MPTAB, and this has been verified by the PPC's person, the award has already been made. The law says, right, you have to 5 or 7 days before the award has been made, but the award has already been made. So when they apply, when they see it, they're out of time. And PPC has been very, very strict in enforcing the law, which is nothing, which is their right. But the contractors are disadvantaged because when they're notified, legally they're out of time.
Yeah, I understand that, and I would like to ask the Attorney General, because my memory of the Procurement Act also says in the area of bid protests that if a bid protest is received within X days of the contract being awarded, the awarding of the contract is paused for investigation. That is my interpretation of Procurement Act. So that they may protest within the period, how many days, 16 days or whatever, and that even if an award has been made, it has to be paused pending the review of the matter to the bid protest committee. That's my understanding of the law, and that the bid protest committee has a very strict time to deal with it, so they don't palaver for the next 6 months on it and hold up a contract. So they're expected to deal that expeditiously with those protests. That's my understanding of the Procurement Act. So I'm not sure. I will ask the Attorney General to look at that issue, maybe with the PPC. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you, sir. One question on the employment cost. Would the Honorable Minister be kind enough to tell this House the salary of the CEO of this commission? Thank you. Salary and benefits.
Yeah. CEO basic salary is 1,304,126. Employers NIS is 23,520. Travel allowance 9,096. Entertainment allowance 10,000. Telephone allowance 15,000. What allowance is that? Telephone. Did we repeat? What's duty? Remember, my Paul, people can now get qualification allowances. That was introduced by the president. So 15,000 for qualification allowance. Gratuity 3,521,140. Vacation allowance 1,304,126. The monthly total is therefore total in terms of grossing up all the allowances, 1,376,000 742. Annualized 21,346,170.
A follow-up, sir.
Member Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could I just have a follow-up on the fact you just included there, the qualification allowance? Could the minister say whether or not the qualification allowance has already been applied, that 15 that you're talking about? Because for the public understanding, if we can be very direct, because a lot of persons are of the impression based on a lot of press statements that the qualification allowance is going to be applied to persons that are doing the training on the job. But is the minister saying that once persons have attained these qualifications prior to this announcement, that the qualification allowance will be applied now?
Minister.
Yeah, I think that's a question when you come to the Ministry of Finance budget, because it is circular from the Ministry of Finance on that issue that went out to agencies and to guide and the PSM. So I think one has to look at that. It does, there is a review process. So you can say, look, I've got a master's degree. If you got a master's degree 20 years ago, I'm not sure you fulfill. I'm not sure myself. But if you got a master's degree in the last 2 years, you were on contract, you are applying for that. I think there's a process of review to make sure that you are eligible and you would be given. In this case, this is a 2025 budget. They're projecting for 15,000 for qualification allowance for a number of people. But it's not necessarily, it would have to be reviewed and approved. Yeah? Yes.
Thank you, Minister.
Yeah.
Honourable members, this is a good time to put a question that the sum stated for Program 621, Public Procurement Commission. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Please turn to page 528. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Program 621, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. I put the question that the sum stated for Program 621, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. I thank Minister and the staff of the Public Procurement Commission for taking us through that agency. According to my clock, it's now 1 o'clock, and we have exhausted the 27 minutes which we had from day one. Also, on the schedule, we allowed 50 minutes for lunch. So we're now running close to 50 minutes late for today. Let the assembly resume at 1:50. Let's take the suspension for lunch for 50 minutes.
Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river.